Call to order the town council meeting for April 2nd, 2025. As everyone rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our meetings are recorded electronically. We go by an agenda. Anyone wishing to have something addressed by the council should have it to the town hall by 3 o'clock on the previous Wednesday of the month. And anyone wishing to speak tonight, we ask you to sign up over here. Ready? Approval of minutes from the March 5th, 2025 town council meeting. They have been emailed out to everybody. Do I hear a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second.
And a second. We have a motion and second to approve the minutes from the March 5th, 2025 town council meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? So carried. Mayor's report. I attended the Maryland Mayor. You got the report, right? Okay. I attended the Maryland Mayors Association Winter Conference in Annapolis. The new mayor and council should consider having the Maryland Municipal League conduct a retreat for the new mayor, council, and staff. MML Senior Director of Leadership Development, Tom Reynolds, talked about the newest member benefit covering team building, goal setting, and developing a shared understanding of roles and responsibilities among staff and elected officials. And there was a couple municipalities that already have had this done, and they say it was a great experience. So just something to keep in mind. Another benefit of being a member of MML was early access to announcements of federal programs and funding alerts through the National League of Cities membership. MML pays for the municipality's dues. If you want to go to a conference or something, then the town will have to pay for that. But that sounded like something we should be looking into as well. While at the Maryland Mayors Association Winter Conference, I had a conversation with Jeff Davis, Deputy Director, Office of Highway Development at SHA. Jeff wants to plan a public informational workshop for our Streetscape project sometime this spring. He also gave me hope that the project may be funded this year. After the conference, I met with Dylan Goldberg, Deputy Director of Intergovernmental Affairs, Office of the Governor. Dylan also gave me positive feedback that more funding for projects like ours was to be included in the state's fiscal year 26 budget. So it was more positive than I've heard in a long time. No guarantees, of course, but at least it's something positive. And I had a lengthy conversation. Let's see here. Wait a minute. Let's go back here. I changed a couple things on my report. Stick with me. All right. I had a lengthy conversation with a commercial real estate broker about Dealman Inn. He was obtaining information for a group of investors, and they want to be kept anonymous at this time. He wouldn't tell me who it was or what they wanted. So, but said that I called him today just for an update, and it may be another year before they make any decisions. So stay tuned. I attended the MML Carroll chapter dinner, which was a very rewarding experience as I was recognized by the Carroll County Commissioners and my peers for my years as an elected official. So thank you everybody that attended that. Appreciate it. I submitted 2 community project funding earmark applications, one for $525,000 for infrastructure projects and $200,000 for street paving. The town should be notified in May or June if, just about a couple words there, if the applications are to be forwarded to Washington. I met with Master Deputy McGinnis to discuss some code enforcement issues. He had some ideas. Hopefully he'll be here later. Placed a musical in the main guide onto the town documents folder. Take a look at it to see if I missed anything. And I am now I didn't know whether this was a position or not, but I'm the official monitor for Rip Drive water line replacement while it's in my backyard. So it seems like everything's going well. So they got about looks like half of it.
Bypass? Bypass?
Well, they got pipe in it.
Half
Oh,
the
good.
pipe is-
Yeah, about half, almost to the Square Drive, I think. So, and all the meetings down there I attended. And that's my report. All right. Community enhancement, Councilwoman Schultz.
Good evening, everyone. I attended the council meetings, the HSP Executive Committee, and the chapter meeting, as well as I'm happy to see the mayor honored at that, as well as I also attended the fire department awards banquet, which was also a nice event. Just a couple of updates. I think I mentioned this at the last meeting. I'd like to possibly get a couple of planters to have flowers in them on either Main or High Street, and I met with Gary and Clerk Mangus about that. And they were gonna have Mary and see, there was a little bit of money left in that budget line, so we're gonna look into some costs. I just wanna put this out there for anybody that might be listening now or might see the meeting later. We are also gonna be asking businesses and or New Windsor organizations to possibly sponsor or co-sponsor a planter or help with maintaining it. And if you're interested in doing that, please contact me at my town email address, which is kschultz@newwindsormaryland.org, and that is on the town website. And once we know whether we're going to move forward with that, I will also put that information on social media. Just a reminder that Beautification Day is April 26th. That starts at 8, and I'm in the process of trying to meet with town staff, public works staff, to help plan for the event. Former Councilwoman Gribbins Lindemann, who was in this position before and who did a lot of work on it, actually wants to help, so she's going to attend that meeting. And just for residents and students, this is an opportunity to help keep the town beautiful, and students can get community service hours. Just wanted to let you all know that I heard from Bonnie Staub at Carroll County Tourism, and for May 4th to 10th is National Tourism and Travel Week, and they're going to be highlighting museums in every community. So Windsor's museum will be included in that, so there will be more information about that once we get the form back from tourism, and then that's going to be highlighting every town's museum on their social media, which is nice. And just a reminder that tax day is coming up, and that Human Services Programs, or HSP, offers free tax preparations for a household income of less than $67,000. So the contact information is on the HSP website. That's it.
Thank you. On Town Beautification Day, I'm also trying to coordinate with volunteers through the Vietnam Traveling Wall to paint fire hydrants that day. So I'll be working with staff and the Lions, since they're going to pay for the paint. We hopefully will have a huge turnout of volunteers. Public Works, Councilman Huffman.
Good evening, everyone. Public Works highlights for the past month include they've removed the salt boxes and the plows from the town trucks. That means winter's over officially. The equipment and trucks have been washed, and the equipment is stored in the town's leased facility out of the weather. Public Works had the town mowing equipment serviced, and it's ready to be used. Public Works repaired the roadway leading into the skate park. There was a lot of potholes there that they filled in. Public Works cleaned up the Byers Sox water facility, the Atlee Walking Trail, Dennings Road facility, the school walking trail, and Lions Club Park. Public Works has been cleaning up the property at 1321 New Windsor Road. If you recall, that's the property that the town recently purchased beyond the railroad tracks. Someone did dump the trash can at Lions Park the other day. There was lots of trash scattered around, and Public Works had to spend some time cleaning that up. Bulk trash will be held this Saturday, 5 April. Residents can bring their large trash items to the Gear Lane facility for disposal. Items will be accepted from 8 to 12. And yard waste pickup begins on April 10th, and please see the town newsletter for the specifics on that. The Planning Commission, we met in March. We received a presentation from Mr. Phil Snyder regarding removal of some property out of the growth area boundary and a donation of property to the town. There'll be more to come on this as the Planning Commission discusses and makes some decisions. All Planning Commission members have received a revised copy of the comprehensive plan. Each member is now comparing their notes to the final copy to ensure all changes were incorporated, so we're getting very close to having that document completed. The Planning Commission has a vacancy, which is on the agenda a little later to discuss, and the next scheduled Planning Commission meeting is April 28th at 6 p.m. And like most of the council members, I participated in the monthly town council meetings and the planning commission scheduled meetings, attended the quarterly MML meeting and dinner, and I met with town manager Dye and the public works team to discuss the town vehicles.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Water and sewer, Councilman Hall.
All right, so we have issues with the wipes that I brought up. The last council meeting is still going on. March 17th, the town had to hire a contractor to pump and haul sewage while the public works completed repairs. One of the repairs made was a damaged pump motor, which required replacement, and that replacement is on order. The root water line project update, like Mayor Neal said, is about halfway through the replacement of the line, and coming along nicely. So that's all I have today.
How much did that cost? How much is it gonna cost?
Well, it was included in the original.
No,
It was.
we're talking about the wipes.
Oh, the wipes?
And the pipes thing.
I think we have it down here.
I didn't have a cost. I didn't have a cost, but we're probably somewhere around $3,000. You're correct.
So because people are flushing wipes that are not flushable, it's costing the town $3,000.
Correct, between the contractor and to order the new pump, a motor, install it, yeah, it will be somewhere around there. Yeah.
And ordering is usually back ordered a lot. So like, if it was something that we needed to replace right away, parts are harder to find. So that could rise the price as well.
Thank you. Public safety and health, Councilman Cornick.
Good evening, everyone here and the citizens online. I do have a brief report. I attended the Opioid Prevention Coalition meeting on the 12th. I have a typo there, but on the 12th of April or March, there were various statistics regarding overdose cases and that were shared by the Sheriff's Department and other departments in the county. In addition to that, I have a notice that there will be a drug take-back event. It has become an annual event with the Health Department. It will be on April 12th at the Carroll County Solid Waste and Vehicle Maintenance Facility. It includes paper shredding as well. In addition to that, I attended the New Windsor Fire Company's annual award banquet and Maryland Municipal League dinner. That's all I have.
Thank you. Economic Development, Councilman Frott.
All right, good evening. I've got a short and sweet one too. I attended the council meeting on March 5th, attended the Lions Club book reading on March 8th. It's always a great time for the kids. Attended the council work session on March 17th. I've met with town manager Dye to further discuss water and sewer rates and how the timing is going to work and how they're going to be incorporated. Worked with Kim this morning to format the monthly water and sewer report for the council to look at later this evening. Very briefly attended the MML dinner on March 19th, and I'm continuing to work with Circuit Rider Reynolds on funding sources to expand walking trails in areas around the town. I still need to sit down with several members of the town to go over the next steps before we can bring it before the council, and I'll have more info hopefully in the next month or two.
Thank you. Town Manager.
Okay, I got nothing really pressing to report other than what's in the budget and on the agenda. And just a couple notes, I'll be out of town Tuesday, April 22nd through Tuesday, April 29th. And then upcoming meetings, Monday, April 21st work session, Wednesday, May 7th council meeting, that's our budget hearing and adoption, and then the May 19th work session.
Thank you. Public Works Director.
Well, good evening, everyone. Public Works has been busy working at 1321 New Windsor Road, including tree removal, grading, and the installation of a Town of New Windsor welcome sign to greet travelers coming from Frederick. So I don't know if anybody from the council remembers the sign that used to be at Blue Ridge Pump Station. We relocated that to the Frederick side of New Windsor to put that to use after it was removed. probably 2 years, 3 years ago from the Blue Ridge pump station in preparation for the rehab of that station. The site's so restricted, there was no room for it. So we moved it out there. So we kind of repurposed that. If everybody could take a look at it, see if they like the placement of it, and if they like the design of the sign itself, we can always upgrade it, but I thought that would be a nice addition for an entry point into town. In the past year, town manager Dye and myself discussed potential drilling wells, including at the chlorination tank site just above 1321 New Windsor Road. With the town's recent acquisition of the property at 1321, it may be possible to drill there instead of at the tank site, which could result in a cost savings for the town. We will continue to explore all viable options. The town and county resource management department are partnering together to explore this option. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I was gonna say something to you, because Phil Snyder said that that would probably be a good place, so.
Yeah, so we started clearing everything out. There were some old buildings that were demolished there and some concrete slabs, so we got rid of one of those slabs today. And we've really got the site cleaned up. And I'm hoping that Zach Neal with the county can do a fracture trace analysis using the old ortho photographs from 1950 to envision what the site looked like before the buildings were placed there. And then we can kind of see where we could drill. So when Gary and I talked about drilling at the contact tank, it's at a higher elevation. So essentially we can capture the same aquifers without drilling. We estimate around 500 or 600 feet. So we're going to save several hundred feet of drilling if we decide to capture the aquifer. In the close proximity of the neighboring property, the Snyder property, and a property at 500 High Street, there is a 100-gallon-a-minute well. So we're hoping to capture the same aquifer within that property. So that would really be beneficial to the town.
That property you're talking about, Councilwoman Schultz was getting ready to tell you, it's the Murray Trite property.
I said he better be writing all this stuff down.
Community Deputy, first, congratulations.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk to everybody about that?
You're a big celebrity.
Sure, thank you guys. It's great to be here this evening. I'm glad I could make it. Didn't have a routine day by any means, but I guess that's the life of a police officer. So just got a call here in town a little bit ago that didn't make the briefing, and I can elaborate on that a little bit in the end. But I'm going to be working on that when I leave here today. So I'm going to try to get out of here a little early. If you guys want to have any questions or comments for me while I'm up here, I'll surely answer those. But yeah, I've received a commitment to community award, and my sergeant did as well this year, and definitely very appreciative of receiving it. I don't feel deserving, but I'm definitely appreciative to receive it. Obviously, we have a lot of other roles aside from just being in the town, and a lot of commitments to like the Homeless Outreach Committee and the Circle of Caring. I sit on that committee to improve homelessness within the county. Also, I'm on the Senior Center Task Force, and I deal with the Westminster Senior Center a lot and their issues there. So I'm the liaison for that. So whenever they have an issue with people trespassing or people allegedly doing CDS or something in the parking lot, it normally goes directly to me. And then like tomorrow we have the DVA Expo with all the middle schools, so we're setting up for that. That's where I was this morning. So obviously, a lot of different hats, and I surely want to be involved in town more, and I want to improve town more, and I can think of better ways that I can do that in the future. So hopefully it only gets better from here. So definitely taking a humble approach to receiving that. Like I said, I don't feel like I deserved it, but I'm glad I got recognized for something. So, and thank you guys. I want to thank the town for all your support in my role here, and everybody has been open arms with me in this room. So thank you very much for that as well. All right. I guess I covered that. So between March 5th and April 2nd, 2025, the Carroll County Sheriff's Office received 24 calls for service within the town of New Windsor. Out of those calls for service, 2 were found to be reportable. On 3/27/25 at 2:31 a.m., the Sheriff's Office was dispatched to an assist fire department call around the 400 block of Church Street. Upon arrival, the subject was identified originally by EMS personnel. The subject was found to be a missing person out of Frederick County. Numerous text messages were recovered revealing troubling intentions. The subject was taken into custody and transported to Carroll Hospital Center for further care. On 3/29/25 at 5 a.m., a call was dispatched for a late reported breaking and entering in the 400 block of Church Street. The door to the residence was found to be damaged and ajar. The responding deputy cleared the residence with his agency-issued Glock 17. Upon entering, the deputy verbally announced his presence and came across a subject who didn't live at the address and was not on the lease agreement. The subject was subsequently taken into custody and charged with burglary as well as malicious destruction of property. It should be noted, this is related to the previous case, so the same subject essentially. And that concludes my report. I want to thank Gary as well for getting the batteries for the signs. I want to keep those out and readily running. And sometimes it's hard, especially with the amount of batteries that we had. We were running out of juice pretty often. Per se, I guess that's an analogy, but we were running out of battery power pretty often. We were only able to operate one battery in each sign, and then of course, I wasn't able to charge other batteries. So we had 3 go down, I believe. That's pretty sure it's 3, but they're not very reliable. And of course, we were talking to the manufacturer about that and getting replacements. But Gary was on top of that. I really appreciate his assistance. It didn't take long at all, and we got some replacement batteries. And you may notice they're juiced up and running pretty well out there on High Street right now. So I want to thank you for that. And then Kevin, I will be at that drug take back event. So if somebody wants to come say hi to me, I'll be the one that's collecting all the drugs out there at the county maintenance. So that's, I believe, all I have to report. I think I'm missing something, but it's just one of those nights.
Do you
So
want to talk about what you just did? Was that all the same thing?
what I just did.
You said something came up right before you.
Oh, yeah, that's what I forgot. Thank you. So, I just responded up to 107 High Street. Obviously, we've had issues before at the same address, but it was related to a juvenile complaint. Wound up taking the individual to the hospital, Carroll Hospital Center, for further care for mental health reasons. So, that's pretty much all I have at this point. Thank you.
You go back to work.
Yep, do it.
Thank you,
you.
guys. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
So Carroll Council, Eric.
Eric Myers, West Carroll Rec. I'll keep with the theme of not much to report. Winter sports wrapped up. Everybody had good numbers this year. Spring registration has opened. Soccer is killing it. They had almost 300 kids in pre-registration. He's expecting over 400 kids. Boys rugby team volunteered at the Westminster Celtic Canter, helped with the setup and breakdown, and the girls rugby team will be helping with the Easter egg hunt in Westminster. Really, that's it. I'm going to bring up the town beautification thing at our next meeting Monday. See if we can get some kids out and volunteer and get those community service hours and give back a little bit.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Fire Chief, I know we have another meeting in May, but the carnival will be May 20th through the 24th. That's the Tuesday through the 24th. And I was going to bring it up later, but there's no parade. So there will be no parade this year. I was hoping for the new mayor and council that you could be going around. I ordered tomatoes, so I had to return them. But there's no parade. So, end of that. Treasurer's report.
All right, so mine is not short. Sorry, guys. So it is the end of the quarter, which means a quarter review on the budget where we stand. So Gary has that one if you guys want to kind of follow along. Looking at income tax for over the budget, the state does not do forecasting for this. They kind of give us what we've done before, and we just estimate an increase. So we've made that increase for fiscal year 26. So hopefully we'll continue to be over the line with that. It's always a good one to be over an income. Personal property is the business inventory. It's kind of right in line, about halfway through. Highway user, we received $104,000 on it, so we're good there. And then we got a little added bonus thanks to Springdale adding admin fees and impact fees for new meters. So that's other income is all right in line where we need to be. Looking at expenses, keeping an eye on a few areas. Professional training and enhancement under executive is over by $250. I'm gonna do leadership Carroll starting July. I had to pay for it this year, so yeah. But nothing else should hit that line. Codification fees are under budget but higher than previous years. I ordered 2 more books, which explains why. Equipment and maintenance under public works is currently under budget. Mowers are all done, right? So nothing really should hit there. We should be good. Gas and diesel is under budget but close. Keeping an eye on that. Snow removal contract is over due to the winter storms. We need help. Can't do anything about that. Everything else, and oh, I'm sorry. Legal fees are under budget.
So those excused absences.
All those excused absences, exactly.
She's not like the state and waits till the end.
No. I do have to remind her to send me a bill every now and then.
Don't ask her any questions between now and July.
Everything else is pretty much in line. We're at the end of the quarter and in the almost end of the fiscal year. I'll start really monitoring these daily and monthly, and anything comes up, I'll let you know. Moving to enterprise, sprinkler fees went out. I'm waiting on 1 payment. Again, Springdale prep with the water and sewer hookups was an extra little added bonus for income there. Water contractors and consultants is over, and this is due to AAA and Maryland 31 with the locating of things. We put it in there. We did not take it out of the grant, and that's going to be on sewer side too. The SCADA SIM card is over. We upgraded the system using ARPA funds, and we went from 8 lines to 12 lines. So we added 3 extra lines. We adjusted it for fiscal year 26. And that's about it. Again, same kind of things for sewer. Everything else is falling in line, and I don't see any red flags so far. Election day is last day to file for candidacies, April 14th by 3 p.m. Last day to request absentee ballot is April 21st by 3 p.m. And election day, please join me here at May 13th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Per the work session, I invested $250,000 of general funds with CQ for 9 months at 4.05% in a CD, and then another $250K of the developer fund with AC&B for 12 months at 4.05%. You will know if you got a new water sewer bill layout. Just so you guys know, it's not a fake. It is real. It is there to help you understand that you can pay monthly. Dave made some good suggestions, so we might tweak it a little bit. But that went out. We did that because we didn't want to bombard the system with the tiered system that we're moving to July 1st. So we upped that a little bit. Anything else?
No, we have election judges.
Election judges,
And the leadership Carroll, you'll get a lot out of it. Meet a lot of nice people and learn a lot about Carroll County. I really recommend anybody and everybody to take that. I took it 2001, I think, and learned a lot. But I mean, I've lived here all my life, and I learned an awful lot. So
I'm excited for it.
yeah, great. We're billing clerk.
Hi, everybody. The last month, I updated the landlord list and mailed letters to landlords with a copy of the ordinance 020525. I also updated the rental housing agreement and cover letter to mail on 5/1. I sent final notices to 22 residents to schedule inside meter removals with First Class Mechanical. I helped Anne Marie with the newsletter. You guys should have those by now. And Gary's making me organize the town service agreements. That is going to be a process. I have started, I'm well on my way, but it is going to be a process. Q1 water bills are done. You will notice, like Dana said, the new water bill layout, it looks great. There is going to be a couple tiny little tweaks, nothing with numbers or anything like that, just the layout. But anyway, they were emailed yesterday, most were mailed today, and about a quarter of them will be mailed tomorrow. I did work with Public Works on the 23 door hangers that went out in March, and the 8 shutoffs that took place on March 20. They have all since paid, and the quarterly bill, the quarter 4 2024 billing breakdown, you guys heard that last month, but there is some other numbers in there that you guys, because I did watch the meeting, I didn't come, but I watched it, and so I think I've got the detail in there that you guys requested. If I'm missing anything, please let me know. I've got 97 past due as of 2/16, 85 of those were homeowners, 12 of those were landlord tenant. 70 delinquent letters were sent out 2/28, 23 door hangers were issued on 3/12, and 8 service interruptions on 3/20. I found 10 accounts that are repetitive, they're repeat offenders, and I will be drafting a letter with an aggressive payment plan, minimum payments, etc. Gary will approve, and then it will come to the council for approval. On 4/2, I ran the delinquent report again. It does still include those repeat offenders that still have a balance. The total past due now is only $14,463.40, still a lot, but down $33,319.38. Any questions?
Thank you. Code enforcement officer.
I got Joan's report. Her son had a game tonight. She hasn't had any complaints that she's received in March. Updates. She's continuing with abandoned and untagged inoperable vehicles in town. 2 letters in follow-up status pending investigation. We're looking into a tag and registration system through the state and pending launch and use. I have Anne Marie looking into that. Union Bridge has it and uses it. There's no fee to it, but you got to sign up and so you can log in and everything. So we're looking into that. That will help her assess who the owners of the vehicles are. There's also a complaint log that she has it's in the folder for this evening of abandoned vehicle list, and code enforcement is it's in our folder. I moved it into the folder for this evening. Vehicle pending letters or investigations per tenant, location, and ownership. Just a couple notes. Please let her know of any locations of concerns or complaints. And if this is an announcement to homeowners or residents, if you have received a letter or notice from Joan, it would be more beneficial for you, more beneficial to your specific situation if you reach out to her upon receipt so you can discuss ways to amend the issues as opposed to not responding or acknowledging receipt of notices or issues. And she is available by email any time of the day. So that's her report.
New business, planning commission vacancy. Ryan stepping down.
Okay, so that's me. Yes, Ryan, Mark's been, talking with Ryan and trying to work it out, but his work schedule is just not allowing him to be able to participate to the extent that he wants to. And I think it's a good choice, so he's going to go ahead and step down. We talked about this, maybe it's been a few years ago already, the process to find a new member, and I think what we had decided upon is that we would put out to the community that there was a vacancy on the planning commission. I guess we would do that through our social media efforts and whatever effort we wanted to use. And we would have those interested individuals meet with the planning commission, and we would kind of vet them and then bring that to the council and say, hey, here's who we had, here's who we think because of whatever. And I believe the process is the mayor actually.
Ultimately, the mayor would be the appointer with the consent of the council.
Right.
I think the idea was to get the commission also a little more involved in that decision-making.
Right. So if that is still the process, then we would like to go that route and start looking for a new a new member to add to the planning commission.
Just one question, didn't we also, as part of that process, require that the person actually lived in town?
Yes, we did. Yes, we
Yeah.
did. Yes, we did. Yes, they have to be a town resident to be on the.
Which was not the case before, not statutorily the
That's
case.
why it came up, because someone that lived in Frederick County wanted to be.
Correct. You're right. Good catch, Kim. Yes.
Have you had any interest so far from anybody?
Well, we haven't really even made it public. No, we really just talked about it last week at the meeting, and I said I would bring it up to the council, make sure that's the way that we were going, so.
So then we advertise it or just on Facebook? Or?
I think just within your own, I don't think you need to put an ad in the paper, especially not with what it costs and the fact that your pool is relatively limited if you have to be living here. But your Facebook, I don't know, it might be too late to go in a newsletter, but by whatever means you generally provide information, including this one.
Website
It'll
too.
get around.
Well, the website, because same thing that we do with the council vacancies and mayor.
And the election and everything, yeah.
Okay,
Yes, thank you.
thank you. Hillside Wells pump replacement?
Okay, I'll get it started just real quick, and then Director Myers can step in there. Alexander Well Drilling provided an estimate for each well located at the Hillside Well location. The two estimates are to replace the well pumps and motors to increase horsepower, maximize well production and efficiency. The estimate for well 078 is $9,377, and the estimate for well 079 is $8,870, which brings the total to $18,247, if I did the math right. Both estimates are in tonight's folder, and Director Myers can provide any additional information.
Okay, so as many of you know, we've been working on Hillside Wells for a while. It's official, well 1 and 2 in the month of March have been producing a combined 56,000 to 58,000 gallons per day, which is an increase from the original 13 to 19,000 gallons per day 3 years ago. As part of the MDE water appropriations modification, we looked at some historical data of the well sites when they were originally drilled and found out that they could possibly produce in excess of 80 to 130,000 gallons. So we haven't been utilizing those wells like we could utilize them. The testing period was a 72-hour test, which is not long enough to determine the sustainable yield. However, I've been pushing the wells to the max the month of March, and it's not operationally possible to pump any more water with the existing pumps that we have in place. So our current appropriation allows the withdrawal of 53,000 gallons per day, and we're doing 56 to 58. But we have a maximum monthly allowance of 80,000 per day that we can pump. However, they don't want to see that on a consistent basis. So we're restricted based on our current appropriation. So after talking with the gentleman with MDE and the permit modification and providing some historical data, we feel, Zach, Neil, and I feel, with the County Resource Program, feel that these wells can produce even more. And this is really important to the town in that if the mainspring pipeline fails or we have a leak, that's our crutch. And we never had that in the past. It can cost as much as $1 million to redevelop wells. We don't have nearly that amount of money in these wells at all. So although the pumps are only 2 years old, based on this information that the town did not originally have, but the county was able to look through their archives and found, we requested a permit modification for several reasons. And this is for the existing supply demand only, not for growth. But we want operational flexibility of every site that we have. And, you know, our mainspring site is a great site in that it's appropriated for over 100,000 gallons per day, which is very impressive for a spring. But our little hidden gem at Hillside Avenue seems to be very comparable to that, and we're proving that right now. So I reached out to Alexander Well Drilling, got some prices on some 7.5 horsepower pumps as opposed to the 5 horsepower pumps that are there now. And we're looking to move on this relatively quickly if we can, so we can satisfy the needs of the state and keep them interested, because what they're doing for us is they're being very accommodating to the town. And we want to push that site. And I should mention that the next viable step is to increase the pump size to operate the wells at a higher capacity, based on the modern, data that we could collect via the SCADA system. And our short-term goal is to invest in the wells to provide a stable and sustainable yield. So sustainable is over a period of time that we can pump at that rate without affecting any neighboring wells or the aquifers or damaging the wells. So it's really a safe, sustainable yield. At this point, Hillside is actually producing more water than the spring. Now the spring is turned down because we have VFDs that control the amount of water that we pull. But it's really impressed us. Now with that being said, I can't offer a guarantee that the wells will continue to support the additional pumping. So this is a test phase. The additional pumping, where the water's coming from, the groundwater recharge, quarry operations, droughts, with all that considered, these are unknown variables. But we're optimistic that this is the next step to invest in larger pumps and motors to assist us in our ultimate goal of, being able to utilize that site if the unforeseen happens. So we're requesting, and the estimates from Alexander is worst case scenario. So if you guys would choose to approve it, it's up to that amount, and it might come in less than that amount.
Up to 18,000.
Yes.
247.
Correct.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Wayne, how old are the pumps that are currently in there?
2 years old.
2 years old. What's the typical lifespan?
So the typical lifespan of the pumps is anywhere from 2 to 10 years old. It depends on cycle times and all sorts of variables. I will tell you that 079, the well that's closest to the brick building, we were replacing every 1 to 2 years, but it was on a 24-hour run cycle. And now we're on a cycled approach. So we're turning the pumps on and off and allowing the water to regenerate and things like that. You have power quality issues that shorten the lifespan of the pumps. But an important thing to keep in mind, someone that has a well at their home, they might have a pump that lasts 5 or 10 years, but we're using these in a commercial application, and then you're fighting head pressure, system changes, supply demand changes, fluctuations and things. So this is not an uncommon thing. I would expect that these pumps could probably last another couple years, but we can use them at our Denning site, and it's not like we can't use them somewhere else, because you can keep the motors, all the locations that we have are 3-phase, and then you can also change the heads on the pumps to change the gallons per minute. And the plan is, should the council approve this, we would actually use these pumps for testing the Atlee well site and things like that. So it would be a test pump.
So the new pumps, the newer higher capacity pumps, if we installed them and we found out that the pump, the well was not going to be able to long-term sufficiently pump at that level, and we kept those same pumps in there and they were being used at a lower capacity application, would we expect that those pumps would last longer since they were made for a higher capacity?
I can't really answer that. I know the stress would be less on the pumps and they'd be able to overcome head with less pressure. But we could assume that they would last longer, but I can't really.
That's where I was trying to drive.
Yeah.
Theory.
Well, any other questions or comments or a motion?
I'll make that motion to approve the purchase of the new pumps for up to 18,600.
247.
247.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of the pumps for up to 18,247. Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? So carried. 2013 Chevy pickup.
All right, I'll get started again. So our original plan was to purchase a new 3/4 ton pickup of the V-plow and salt box to replace the 2013 Chevy in fiscal year 26. Upon review of the proposed fiscal year 26 capital projects for both general fund and enterprise fund, the council provided direction to move things around a little bit, move the new truck purchase back to 2027 and move the purchase of the side-by-side UTV and plow up to 26. However, based on an inspection of the 2013 Chevy by Wance, the truck did not pass state inspection. The estimated cost to repair the truck, pass inspection, and keep the truck safe and usable in our fleet is $10,487. The estimated value as is from Wance is $2,000. And the estimated value after repairs is $5,000 to $7,000 per Kelly Blue Book. The vehicle maintenance and repair line, for reference, it has a $6,245 remaining as fiscal year 25. So we went that route, we'd be over budget in that line item. But we need some further discussion and direction from the council on that. So, I'll cover everything there, pretty much.
Council?
I'll kick off since I had the privilege of hearing this up front already. Gary and Wayne had me in for discussion on it, so I got to have some time to chomp on it. So my personal opinion is I would not want to invest $10,000 into the vehicle. The vehicle looks great. It's sitting there. It's a darn shame, right? But we're in a situation where I personally don't think that we want to drop $10,000 into the vehicle. We were hopeful that we were going to keep that vehicle and use it maybe for upcoming brine usage, keep it in our fleet. Unfortunately, the repairs that it needs, it's really unsafe, and we can't even use it in our fleet at this time. So it would not be safe for our public works guys to be driving around because fumes can come into the cabin, and we can't have that. So that vehicle is really out of commission. And unfortunately, Wance gave us an estimate that it's worth $2,000, and now it is a 13, and we paid I think $37,000 for it, so it's a pretty tremendous loss on that. However, it is what it is, right? Okay, so then the discussion was, do we need to purchase the truck and as originally planned or what? And so I gave that a lot of thought, and I still believe that we need to hold off and not buy the truck this year, just for the the reasons that I talked about last time, that we, have so many new trucks in a row, that the next council and the next mayor and council, may not be any of us, is going to be hit with this same kind of thing, except, the price of vehicles is going to escalate, and they're going to have a tremendous turnover rate. Now, I know that it's going to be inconvenient for our public works crew through the summer here, because we're going to really have two pickup trucks and the dump truck. And the dump truck's not a daily usage. You're not going to run around that big, massive dump truck. We wouldn't want that to do it. So they're going to have, two vehicles to use. And I know that will be inconvenient for them. But, as soon as spring and summer, are fully here, the guys spend a lot of time grass cutting. So there will be part of our crew that will be just hopping on the mowers and going. Can guarantee that Wayne is going to have a truck doing his water things, and that kind of leaves one truck for Alan and the rest of the public works crew to tool around in and make do. We're gonna, if we still buy the side by side, if we could get that ordered and get that in early July, that would give them the ability to do running around here. So I think, although inconvenient, we can work it out for the summer. Where it could become a little hairier is, in the winter, next winter. But I'll say, if we have winter storms, we will have 3 trucks on the road. We will be using the side by side for several of the areas, and that's 4 of our 5 crew. And if we had a big storm, the 5th person could be here loading salt into the hoppers for the other guys, so they could just bring the truck in, and we'd have one man that was kind of rested. So I think we could get through it. Worst case, we'd have to, again, hire a contractor to help us out next winter, and then purchase the truck the following year. So I'm one voice. And I had the opportunity to think on it, and that's my thought process and what I came up with. But your opinion is certainly appreciated by all I know.
One thing I wanted to ask is, the other 2 trucks, did they pass their safety inspections?
So we do it every 5 years. Technically the 2021 wouldn't be due until 2026. So we definitely maintain our trucks very well. We take them in for annual service and inspections, but we get more detail oriented every 5 years based on the use of the vehicles and salt. And we go through the state inspection program because they measure things. Whereas, we all get oil changes. You go and get an oil change, and there's the free 18-point inspection, and they're visual. So it's important for the safety of the guys and anybody working around the equipment to have these safety inspections. So again, the other vehicles that we have are very safe. We didn't realize the extent of the damage to the 2013. And again, it's Wance appraised it at its current condition without us making repairs. And unfortunately, it is a base model truck. It's got manual windows and not power windows, and it's not very attractive in the buyer's market. So that's...
Yeah, the only state that, obviously we can't use it now. What do we do with it? Do we sell it? Do we... Because regardless of if we buy a new one or if we get the side by side, we're still gonna have to, I would imagine, get rid of this vehicle.
So if the council chose to postpone the purchase of a new truck, we wouldn't have the trade-in option. However, a dealer may buy the vehicle as is without us purchasing a vehicle from them, or we offer it for sale privately. And put a full disclaimer out there on the condition of the truck, including offering the state inspection certificate where it failed, buyer beware, this is what you're, bidding on, and the sealed bids, but that's a council decision.
That's what we did with the Dodge.
Yes.
Wayne, how's the frame and the pins for the plow?
So they indicated that there were issues, there were holes in the cab with the exhaust gasket, and then they indicated on one of the, and this is in the 2013 Chevy folder, that there was a hole in the frame. It says rust holes in frame, service invoice for inspection. So if you look at the service invoice, now, I'm not specifically sure where the rust hole is. I didn't see that. I noticed that there was a hole in the floor, but I didn't see the hole in the frame.
This estimate covers the frame repair then?
This estimate covers everything.
Yeah, I guess it should be noted that the estimate to fix the rust damage was over $7,000 of the estimate.
More or less routine maintenance
And
for
other
the
stuff
rest
was
of the
routine,
cost.
brakes, calipers, those kind of things, routine maintenance things, right?
So for 7,700 or whatever it was, yeah, 7,700 for the rust repair, we get likely another 5 years out of it until the next inspection, barring an issue with the hours on it, or we drop 60 plus in a year or two on another truck and limit public works functionality until that time. I'm in favor of fixing, using it sparingly moving forward, but it's at least another plow truck and 1 or 2 good snowstorms next year. A contractor would pay for this rust repair. Not having to hire out would cover a good chunk of the rust repair.
I mean, not having to hire a contractor is a good point. The only downside to that is I know with trucks, once rust you can deal with, but once it starts eating away at the frame, that's when you start getting where you're just dropping money into it, because if that has a hole there, there's likely other spots that are about to have a hole. So that's the only thing. I don't want it to become a money pit is basically.
It would need to be within tolerances though to pass the inspection. And obviously something to keep an eye on in a couple of years, but I would assume that Wance's repair would get us that couple of years, if not more, on the rust repair and the frame repair.
Are they guaranteeing that? With that?
I'm sure they have a basic guarantee. I believe I read somewhere in the rust repair that they said that this is what their findings are now, that as they get into the work,
Yes.
it might be, I can't remember where.
It says, it's
The
page
estimate
3.
provided herein is based on the initial inspection of the vehicle.
Yep.
A proper tear down of the vehicle will be needed. So we have rocker panels, cab corners, and floor, all in the same condition on the driver's side. The passenger side's starting to go, but it's not as bad. Gary and I had talked, and I was thinking about actually patching the floor ourselves, but the metal is just not solid enough to get a good weld on it.
Couple
So-
license plates.
And Wance said that the floor pans aren't available for the truck through GM with the good gauge metal, so they have to custom make the floor pan. There's aftermarket options, but they feel like the salt is just going to terrorize that aftermarket metal, and it's thinner, and they won't trust it because there's a structural rail that they have to replace, and they're concerned about that. So I feel as if this 7,000 may go up possibly, but my opinion's biased in that truck's been very reliable. We've had it for years. I mean, I was here when it was brand new. That particular truck is, we've spent hardly any money on it at all. It's always been maintenance items. However, rust spreads, and that's the most concerning part. You know, as Councilman Huffman mentioned about the brakes, they're all maintenance items. And salt's corrosive, and those can be replaced relatively easy, whereas the rust you can't do as much with.
And to Kevin's point, they will obviously warranty the part that they replace, but say a hole opens up, 2-3 inches over, they're not going to warranty that.
Yeah, it says rust repairs only warranted if the damaged part is replaced in full.
Do you, Wayne and Gary, have an opinion?
I'll offer mine first. I mean, just reading the description, you're rolling the dice because their inspection was very thorough, but as they state there that, when you do a proper tear down of that vehicle, they get it in and start tearing things apart. You could be opening a can of worms that you just don't know. And when they get to that point, we've authorized them to do the work. They say here that, any broken or additional parts, you'll be notified of it beforehand, but anything that is subject to safety hazard must be replaced. They're not going to be able to, overlook it and not fix it. So
I mean, as part of the inspection, once they inspect it, they have to go to the whole.
once we give them the green light,
That's it.
that's a can of worms. I mean, I think I agree also though with Wayne that it's been a good truck. It is going to create some, disadvantage and some issues, with public works staff. And the other thing I'll throw in there is, it's probably already too late for that, but who knows what these truck vehicles are going to be with tariffs and things. That's on them. Go ahead, Dana's
What
got it.
happens, and this is just me thinking, in a week, we go to start one of the trucks, the two that we have, because we don't really use the dump, and that one doesn't start. And and whatever happens, it goes to the shop, so now you're down to one truck and 5 guys. And like Gary said, I didn't read the tariff information this afternoon. I was doing some research last week. We don't know what's going to happen. You don't want Public Works to be out with something like that because that's the worst case scenario. You're down to one truck and 5 guys.
Wayne, would you?
And I understand Dave's part of wanting to
Stagger.
them. However, speaking to Gary and kind of just looking over it, it's like a couple things. There is money in the budget to do it now. And
So-
kind of ease that up. And it wouldn't stagger.
To buy a
It
truck.
wouldn't stagger it, yeah. That would be the only downside. But it would give, I don't know. Are you ever afraid that one of those trucks aren't going to start? Then 2 weeks
You
unless
just
you're
jinxed
done.
them.
I know, I totally did it. I'll let you borrow an electric car.
Well,
It's something to think about. If one breaks down, you're down to one.
or if we have an accident,
or if you have an accident.
It has been a challenge to not have that truck shuffling the guys around, and we're partnering up to get places, and we're ride sharing basically, for lack of a better term. The 5500 is not a runaround truck, nor do I want the most expensive truck in the fleet just driving around getting 3 miles to the gallon. And then you're assuming a greater liability. You got a $150,000 truck, and you're going around to do water reads and stuff, or those kinds of things. I hate to see us lose this truck. But I also see not investing in it because you're investing 10 times what it's worth in the repairs potentially. But I also
It's falling apart more.
Yeah,
But once we open it up, that we start that process, and now we've started.
But to Councilman Huffman's point about buying a vehicle and staggering, it's a very valid point in that, when we purchased the 2021, it was decked out with plow, salt spreader, and everything for 47. The 2023 was 50-something, and we still have to put a plow and salt spreader on it. So we're gonna have to come up with the money to put a plow and salt spreader on the 2023 and purchase or repair this truck, or find another avenue to fill the void. This is a very tough decision, probably one of the toughest vehicle decisions we're gonna make.
Do you think with this $10,000 repairs, you could get, kind of baby it a little bit to get 5 years? Or are you looking at 2 or 3?
I don't want to own that because
I will.
I said,
I mean, the salt.
that truck has been super reliable.
Well, that's,
And the minute I say, yes, we should do this, because I love the truck. And then something happens to it, it'll be,
Well, the
I
problem
can't believe Wayne let us, I know you guys wouldn't say that, but
the problem with rust though is you probably won't want that out plowing with
Well,
severe rust.
There's things that you can do to prevent the rust that maybe we have to address on that truck. Would you or a Public Works employee be up for the legwork of possibly finding a totally rust-free cab?
oh God.
Well, look, if they're doing floors, they're taking the cab off.
Yeah.
So it's already off. If we drop a cab off to Wance, they got to shift some VIN tags around.
You know me, we're all gearheads, a lot of us here.
So I don't mean Public Works. I just mean sourcing.
you're giving Wayne a challenge that he's willing to
But
accept.
again, suppose something goes wrong when I'm going the extra mile. I just don't want to take on that. I really don't. I appreciate the service that the truck has given us over the years, but I would say it might not be worth investing in based on the uncertainty. And there's all these things. So if it was my truck, if it sat around for 5 or 6 months and I fixed it whenever I had a chance, it'd be different. I hate to give up on stuff. I mean, for instance, the 2008 dump truck. You know, I came before the council and I asked about doing repairs to that, and we put all sorts of money in that, but the resale value was over $22,000. Whereas this resale value, when we get done, it's
It'll be 50%.
the other side will be now failed. We'll be in the same situation, and the value will be $2,000. And something else I have to add, just for transparency. The salt box on that particular truck is 3.5 years old. We can take that from that truck and put it on the 2023, save money on the salt box if that truck's out of service. $8,000 savings right there.
That's good to know.
So that's something else to
We
consider.
already have in 26 planned for a V plow for the 23.
Correct.
Now, there's a plow on the Chevy, which is our only straight plow, correct?
Yeah, but
It's not the same.
it's not, and it's
Okay.
tired.
Okay. Just
The
a
plow's
thought.
tired
Wanna make
too.
sure.
I mean, we could have limped it along, but the whole purpose was keeping the truck, getting another season out of it, purchase the new truck, and then turn that into a brine truck. Because brine's very corrosive. And it looks as if things aren't gonna work out the way we originally intended. But again, it's the council's decision.
So-
Meeting with Dave, real quick. We were talking, Dave brought up a good point too about, with the plan, alternate plan was to use that as a brine truck. And good question, when do we think we're going to be required to at least brine a certain portion of our salt application? And we're probably looking, we know it's coming. It's not gonna be mandated that you have to use brine 100%, but the mandate is driven by our permits to reduce the amount of salt for the bay and all that stuff. So we're looking probably at 2 years, in the 2 year range of when we want to do that. So the theory then is you don't want to use a newer truck, but in 2 years at the 2021 will be, 7 years, you make that your brine truck instead of the original plan for the 13.
But I could argue that fixing the 2013 and as a brine truck, take the salt box off, put it on the 23, use the 13 more so around the summer, so you guys have the trucks, and then when the brine comes, you're using a truck that you've got recently $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 into versus a $40,000 plus invested truck. And then when the brine totally trashes the 13, 2 years, 3 years, then you switch it over to the next oldest truck and go from there. So instead of dropping brine on a truck that's probably worth 20, 25 at that time, you're dropping it on a truck that's worth less, significantly less, and you're maintaining the fleet.
Yeah, but I could also argue at that point that we could if we get brine, we could end up buying a used pickup truck for $7-8 grand. That could do that for at least 4 or 5 years. The only concern I have here is if it was my truck, I'd slap a couple license plates and weld it to the frame, but it's not, and when we're talking a commercial use, business use, it really boils down to resale value. And if you're putting more money into it than it's worth, that's where it starts getting into the breaking moment of do you replace it?
See, I'd argue for commercial, it's more about availability than value.
True.
What work can you get out of that asset versus what's it worth in the end?
Yeah,
But the bottom line is usage is going to be, should be driven by safety for our employees. I don't know. I don't want to bubble gum and shoestring this thing together just to save, But let me ask you, Councilman Hall just mentioned spending, $7,000 or $8,000 for a used truck. What about getting what we can out of the truck for now? Is the value $2,000? Could we get another truck for under 10?
It's gonna be old.
Yeah, in today's market,
It's
that's
gonna be
be
old.
tough.
It's going to be a super old truck.
It would be better to repair.
Out of that, in that particular situation, because then we also have another truck that's
Yeah.
not Maryland inspected.
Right.
Same situation that we're in now. We know this truck.
Right.
And you use all 3 for plowing, right?
We do.
Because I was thinking a Ford Ranger or
Yeah.
something, but if you're gonna use it for plowing, you're gonna need something bigger.
Yeah.
So, but our only options to buy a brand new $60,000 truck? What about a $30,000 truck?
We can look. So everyone has valid points, and that's what makes this so tough. Is even though all our opinions and points differ, they're all valid, and they hold value. There's no wrong answer to what we're trying to accomplish. We can look at used, we can look at new. If we looked at used, we would look at something that was inspected. It would have to be similar.
No older than 5 years old. No older than 5 years old.
That if you
go any older than that, you're gonna be.
That's gonna be tough.
You're not getting it at 30 for that, for equivalent.
Let's keep in mind that this particular vehicle, we wouldn't want any, in my opinion, if we went used, we wouldn't want anything already fitted with a plow.
Because
All right.
already used.
Because this vehicle, even though it's older, was fitted with a plow and a salt spreader, and it has 60,000 miles on it, and it's in need of critical repairs. So if we came up with criteria and you guys were okay with us looking at used compared to new, I would be comfortable with that.
So before we go down that road, right, this is not our personal vehicles. We are buying vehicles for the town of New Windsor. to provide service to our residents, right? We're using their tax dollars. We bought a used Dodge Dakota for $16,000. We sold it for $500. We bought a $37,000 Chevy that's now worth $2,000. That's $2,500 on $53,000 worth of investment. Okay, so we're throwing trucks away. That's 95% of our investment is gone. I think we need to get out of that. We can't just be buying equipment and running it and throwing it away, because anything can happen to these vehicles. As you guys were all saying, anything can happen. We need to get on a program where we keep vehicles, we use vehicles, and we have some resale value in those vehicles, so we have some money to invest in a new vehicle. So our fleet is always ready to be used by our public works to serve our residents. So I think talking about buying used and band-aiding things is not, it's not our personal stuff. Yes, I know every one of us would fix that truck. I gotcha. I know it. But it's not our personal vehicle. Where the town residents are looking to us to lead and run this town, and we need to have vehicles that our crew are safe and can service the town.
Other than not being in a cycle, there's really no
It's the only objection.
negative of buying something new.
And I'd argue to get into the cycle, we need to either hamstring Public Works for a year or two, or repair the Chevy to get it that year or two.
Or do you buy new and then
Get on a cycle.
string on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as we string on, things snowball with rust. When you hit whatever the threshold's gonna be for cycling through vehicles, if it's 10 years, if you get to 12, the difference between 10 and 12 is substantial when it comes to plow trucks and all that. Good.
I will say, please look at the Mayor and Council folder, 2013 Chevy. There is a history of vehicle purchases from the town of New Windsor from 97 till now. We haven't changed how many years we keep a vehicle. The vehicles have always been, we all know, you buy a vehicle brand new, you take it off the lot, it's the worst investment ever. It depreciates so fast. And the fact that we're using these vehicles commercially and they're exposed to higher concentrate levels of salt means that they're going to get damaged a lot quicker, and the abuse is going to be more. And the manholes, I invite anybody to get in a truck with me when I'm plowing, and I'll show you where the manholes are. And so the fact that this frame is still intact on this 2013 and that it's not bent and that we're still able to use it is impressive.
So you're saying we're getting our money's worth?
We're getting our money's worth, absolutely. And the other thing to consider, like I said before, when we purchase other vehicles in the past, there is mileage and there is hours. And even though the mileage aesthetically is 60,000, there's a calculation, a formula that you quantify the hours to additional mileage, and that truck with 60,000 miles actually has 200,000 miles. And there's a formula, and you can go online and you can Google it and you can type in the information. I can provide you with hours, and you can see we have gotten value out of the vehicles. It's a tough decision, and there's quite a few of us to make the decision together. We're not alone, but we have to make some kind of a decision.
So Dave, real quick, I get your point. Again, valid point of getting to a cycle where, with our vehicles, where we use them and we sell them at a earlier stage than what we are currently doing to try to maintain some value and be able to put towards new vehicles. But I mean, currently we're keeping vehicles, 10, 12 years. Look at the Chevy, right? In the dump, the old dump. So what do you feel is that change point? 5 to 7 versus 10 to 12?
I asked that question last meeting. What was what is that? Is it 8 years?
Yeah, what's the sweet spot?
You know, is it 10 years? And I also told you, I tried to extrapolate out vehicle purchases, and I went all the way out to 2048 to try to give us a couple years between them, and I couldn't get there because of the fact that we have, you know, a 21, a 22, a 23, and we were thinking about buying a, you know, 25 or 26. It's a hard, you know, I don't have, if I had the answer, I would have the answer for you. I don't, but, you know, if we buy a 25 right now, you know, we're gonna have 4 trucks, including the dump, in the 4-year period, we're gonna have 4 years of trucks. And at that point, you know, even if you take the dump out of the mix, right, you're gonna have a 21, a 23, and a 25. You got a little bit of a 2-year spread, so you got to start. But you know, it's
Yeah.
So what you're saying absolutely makes sense, 100%. What really hurt the town is when the market changed. For instance, I mentioned buying the 2021 for 47 with the plow and the salt spreader. Because of our cooperative purchasing and our Sourcewell discounts and all these discounts the town receives, we've already bought into a vehicle, an asset vehicle, and it's worth more and has more equity than any person could go into a lot and buy that same vehicle. In other words, that $47,000 truck that we bought with all that equipment, somebody else would have went and got it without cooperative purchasing, and they would have paid $75,000 for it. If we're looking at a way to maintain value, it would be sell in a shorter period of time.
Yeah, he's getting to you.
Because we could get probably $10,000 less than what we paid for it 5 years down the road. But we've used it for 5 years, you know? So when you depreciate $10,000 over 5, it's better than depreciating the vehicle to nothing. And that's what we're doing now. So you have to break the cycle at some point in time, and you have to make the determination. So I get what Councilman Huffman's trying to come up with, that if we separate the vehicle purchases, they're not compounding on one another, where it's hitting the checking account or the checkbook every year or every 2 years, which is a heavy hitter. So I get that.
But
Gary, do you know what the county does? Are they on a cycle, or they run them until they don't run?
I don't know.
Judging by some of them I see on the road, they're running them until they don't run anymore.
But I mean, that was the same way with cats, you know, we ran them until, but you could go to auctions and get, because the county had to get rid of buses, and we would go buy them back for the nonprofit, you know, and they were still in decent shape, so I don't know whether any of the trucks are in a cycle or
I
not.
don't know, do you? I don't know.
I've seen some pretty rough county
I know,
vehicles
I
on the
know.
road,
Yeah.
but then I've seen some
But are they in a
decent.
cycle that just look that bad?
Right.
I mean,
I would venture to say they're on a shorter cycle, turnaround cycle. But they're also dealing with a lot more
They used to
vehicles.
have auctions up Frederick Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
They would take their stuff up there. And sometimes they were, you know, either good or bad, or you never knew.
I personally would be more inclined to purchase a new vehicle with the understanding that we would have to bring it down to a 5-6 year schedule. That being said, that 2021 isn't on that schedule, would be now ready to sell as well.
So then that
Would
just.
then be another purchase.
It's tough to get in there.
So that's you know, it's a big mess.
Wayne, what's the risk of, if we got to a shorter schedule, of equipment not transferring over? Because then we got to add equipment to these trucks that we're selling every 5 years, but the box is good for 10, or the plows are good for 8. Because like the Chevy, the box can go over, but the plow's tired, but the plow wouldn't even fit.
So
They're
I
universal
will
now.
say we have purchased more contractor grade plows now. than we ever have in the past. They're more serviceable, greasable, everything, and we're not nearly in the shop as much, getting the solenoids or the control valves or pumps rebuilt. The 2008 plow went to the 5500 Chevy. I'll put it that way. So we're being very resourceful, and we're keeping those items that are heavy wear items, and they're still in good shape.
Right. So even on like a shorter vehicle schedule,
Correct.
the equipment should be able to transfer over.
Yeah, this was the concept with the 2022 5500, that the switch and go body could go to the next truck. So that's, we're starting this as our equipment is growing. We're starting, how can we repurpose or reuse? Again, like we were gonna take the salt box off of the 2013 Chevy and put it on the 2023 and things like that. So we're being very resourceful. It's just, to Councilman Huffman's point, getting a schedule where we're not purchasing bulk items or vehicles every year or every 2 years. But when and where do you break the cycle? And do you break the cycle when we're now more staffed than ever? That's the tough decision.
If you were to order one, let's say hypothetical, council approves it tonight, how long is it gonna take to come in? You're gonna be in next fiscal year, correct? Probably.
More than likely.
More than likely, if we ordered it straight from the factory, which we tend to get a better deal doing it that way. However,
You got
I'm
lucky with
sick
your
of the
Chevy.
COVID excuse, but unfortunately, again, from 21 to 23, the dramatic difference in cost. It just,
But when will we have to pay for it? This fiscal year or next fiscal year? I know we've had to make a down payment, I'm sure, but.
well, we would write something up in that we expected July, whatever, if we decided to do that.
Would that help? I mean, during a year, Dave, any help with your cycle? Not much.
A little bit. A little
Now
bit.
Dave's on a cycle. Well, that, you know, that doesn't really do anything for the cycle.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure we can solve that problem.
But it might be also, depending on the time of year, it might be a 26
Probably would be.
chassis.
Still, we're still buying it.
That's
Yeah,
also
that.
important to think about. And again, 2013 folder, mayor and council, in there, it specifically explains that although one vehicle is a 21, we purchased it in 20 and so forth. However, when you look at the purchase dates and the vehicle years, they're still only a couple years apart. So Councilman Huffman is very correct in saying that that is how we've been purchasing vehicles, and we should have separation at some point to allow for
In the perfect world.
pauses in the
Yeah, in
perfect
the
world.
Right.
Really, only one, and I don't know how possible or how much this helps to get to this schedule or cycle or whatever, is if you buy a new vehicle now. I mean, we have it planned to buy a 250 with a V plow and a salt box, which then, i.e., it's a snow removal vehicle in addition to what we're using it for. If you don't use it as a snow vehicle, you still get a new vehicle. You don't use it as a snow vehicle, but you have it for access. It's going to extend the life of that vehicle if you're not using it as a snow vehicle. And with the schedule that we have in that scenario, we get another truck, and then come winter, we have 2 trucks, 2 pickups that are we'll have plows and salt boxes, and then you have the dump with a plow and the big dump with a plow, which is
3, but then we have a new development that we're
I
plowing.
understand. I'm just
And we
throwing
would
it out there.
So our rule now is 3 inches or more, we're dependent on a contractor. If we lose that truck, every storm, until we get that truck replaced, every storm. What was our budget? We went over budget this year for the contractor. And of course, this is Maryland weather, who can predict it?
Well, why is it that every storm, and we would have 3 trucks on the road? We would have 3 trucks on the road. That's as many trucks, that's more trucks than we've ever had in Public Works. Right there, we'd have 3 trucks on the road plowing. Why would we have to bring in a contractor for any storm?
Public safety, we got a major development with 128 units onto a state highway.
Is there a time frame that we have X amount of time to get the snow off the road? What's driving it? I know.
Safety.
Before Snyder's.
Safety, but again, we used to do things in a different way. When I first started here, it would take 3 days sometimes to clear with snow. The alleys and stuff got missed. We have a really good snow removal procedure. Roads really look good. Never had an accident in 14 years in town.
He's knocking on wood.
We're talking about safety of a vehicle and not using a vehicle because it's unsafe, but there's also the public safety aspect too.
So putting another vehicle on the road to plow is only getting the snow off the road quicker. Is that what you're saying?
Well, so we have compliance, using less salt, so you're scraping and plowing more just like the county. You're salting not as much, so you have physical work instead of relying on salt and things like that. It would require an operational change that, in my opinion, would cause safety issues to have less vehicles on the road. And that's my personal opinion, doing this for, again, 14 years. So that's how I feel about it. And again, we haven't had accidents in 14 years. We stay on top of things, and we also go home in most cases at midnight, where the county and the state, they're out all hours of the night. We come in the early mornings and go home in the evenings, and there's a cost savings associated with that too. Whereas we have employees that travel and they commute, some of which go 30, 40 minutes, and we haven't had issues with that either. So I think we're very balanced in our operations, and I'd hate to see that balance be lost.
Well, we've been spinning wheels for a half hour now. We need to do something. Either get some prices or.
Is that the next step?
It would be your guys' decision.
Like everybody said, everybody's points are valid, but we're not.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna come to a decision on purchase or repair.
What's that do to your budget, Gary? I mean,
That's in my report. It really doesn't change the budget if we talked about that. If we flip things around, the only actually it doesn't affect the general fund. The enterprise fund, if we push the truck back to 27, like we talked about, actually would save $30,000 on the enterprise, because you're flipping the UTV and the truck. The UTV is 30, and that's all general fund, and that's the 30,000 portion of the full truck, whereas the other 30 is in the enterprise fund. So
This would be a 50-50.
the truck would be. The UTV is all enterprise.
Wayne, what's the impact for the summer for being down a truck?
Well, the short-term impact we're noticing now, and other members of the Public Works Department can attest to that. We're playing the ride share, the shuffle.
Would a UTV help with that? Or is that not going to get?
It would, but would the council rather see us in a UTV driving around town that isn't like a regular vehicle, the aesthetics of that, and the UTV is needed. However, the hours and the mileage won't be as much as a vehicle.
It's useful, but not a primary vehicle.
Exactly.
So basically, we need to either replace or keep that truck to maintain the current status of Public Works for this summer and then moving into the winter.
Correct.
Well, for the immediate tonight, the only thing that I see is the fiscal year 26 budget is being introduced. So any change I would say we should make on the budget, but I don't think tonight we have to make a decision one way or the other for the Chevy.
Right.
But we could allocate the money in there in case, or we could just leave it as is, and if the need arises, we can amend the budget.
Right, I have not changed it officially in the budget to flip things around, because it's a pretty simple switch. So we can leave the new truck in the budget for 26.
Right.
And if we end up flipping it, it's not that big of a difference. We can amend, like you said, we can amend the budget.
So can we get pricing for a replacement truck? And then we can compare that to the cost for fixing and maybe work out a schedule at like the work session.
And I would like to see at the work session too, maybe we have some sort of plan to have, maybe this first cycle we start at 8 years and then we bring it back to 6 and like try to get on, like some sort of plan to get on. Yeah, not anything set in stone. But I know it's not going to be 5 years right off the bat because we got one, so.
What did you have? Did you have anything?
No, I couldn't get there.
So it's a thumper.
But were you looking at like 5 years, every 5 years, or?
I was trying to get it out to 4 years between purchases, and that was still making us keep vehicles very longer than 10 years or more. And that was, if we're keeping them that long, as Connor said, on a plow truck, where the value is, it's nothing, so we can't be there that long, so.
All right, so I guess the direction is to get some prices for the work session?
Okay, do we want used and new prices?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want to look at ATV too?
Could you get an ATV by the end of this fiscal year?
What?
Could you get an ATV by the end of this fiscal year?
The UTV by the end?
Yeah.
I'm sure we could.
I would look at price and availability on that too, just to.
We'll have all that information.
Just have that option. I mean,
So then you could do UTV this year and a truck next year.
Makes it a little worse for Dave's calculations. Then you got a UTV in that mix.
I have no smoke coming out my ears.
All right, good, Wayne?
Yeah.
All right. Any other new business? Old business, water sewer rate resolution, review and discuss draft.
Okay, I'll try to speed this up as much as I can here. So at the March 17th work session, council unanimously voted to adopt a tiered water sewer rate system with adjusted base and usage rates as follows. Just list those real quick. The water base rate to 102 per quarter, sewer base rate to 100 per quarter, water usage rate $9.50 per 1,000 gallons up to 20,000 gallons, sewer usage rate $11.50 per 1,000 up to 20. The water usage rate of $11.50 per 1,000 over 20,000 gallons per quarter, and the sewer usage rate at $12 per 1,000 over 20,000 gallons. Attorney Ostrander prepared a draft resolution for review and discussion this evening. Just some things that we want to think about and consider putting in there is in the past, we do a resolution for the rates, and that lays things out for X amount of years, but if we then it's part of a water sewer rate schedule. So then it just breaks it down, and we've typically done that in the past for 5 or 6 years. So, you know, I think we need to look at something, maybe not 5 or 6 years, but I don't think doing it year to year is the way to go either. Maybe somewhere in the middle for 3 years, think about that. Also, putting in that schedule, that you gotta put in the water and sewer connection fees. They weren't part of what we discussed in this new rate system, but that's always part of it. And then also noting that those fees are,
If they're gonna change.
okay.
I mean, you've already got a resolution establishing the water connection fees and the sewer connection fees, right? I didn't put them in here because I didn't think they were changing.
They go up, what, 5%? What is it?
That's pursuant to a different resolution.
Right.
Yeah, this would override
So we
it,
wouldn't
wouldn't it?
need that in this.
I didn't think you did, but, I mean, if you're gonna review those or visit those again, sure.
Previous resolutions had the connection fees in them.
But I think that was because they were all being changed and done and set up at the same time.
Well, in
That's
this
my
resolution
recollection. I could be
from
wrong.
2018, it says after July 1st, 2024, the water connection fee shall automatically increase 3% annually. So if that stays the same, we
But
shouldn't
we've
need.
also froze all the rates, including the connection fees, the last 2 years.
Right.
So are we, and again, there's a lot of just things to consider, because we also adopted the resolution on 6/17/24 establishing the non-residential water sewer connections, which we basically used the residential rates at that time. I mean, 2 years have gone. What do we want to set what do we want to start with the connection fees at? And then also.
They kept raising, I didn't think we froze them.
Yeah, we froze.
We froze them both at the same time, is what you're saying.
I believe so. I thought I put that.
Raised, but I don't think
I
the hookup
didn't
fees.
think that the hookup connections were waived, or any increase in the hookups were waived.
Rate
I'd have to
increasing.
go back and look, which I
If we
didn't.
didn't, then we just, the 3% would just
Moral of the
apply.
story is obviously we have some questions. And maybe what we want to do is instead of having 3 separate resolutions, do a sort of a master.
That's what I was.
Good idea.
Yeah, all right. You handle that?
Once I know what it's supposed to say, I can handle it.
Well,
All that stuff and,
one, like I say, you'd have to check that one resolution from 2 years ago that kept the rates the same, but I don't think we kept the rates the same for hookup fees. I think they,
I don't think so either, but we'd have to go back and pull all of the miscellaneous resolutionary that,
it's
that legal bill.
only really affected
I gotta
one.
get over the budget.
So, I mean, it's not like we're just starting Snyder Summit or anything, so.
Yeah.
But
But the connection fees were arrived at with a formula, at least the connection fees, my recollection, were arrived at with a very extensive study of what the system cost and all that kind of stuff. So we want to make sure that we understand where they came from and.
Well, that could change. I mean, 3% annually was also pre-COVID. That could be 5% annually now.
hookup fees, I thought were 5, maybe not.
They were 3.
It says
Everything was inflating. The usage rates and the connection rates were inflating annually 3%. The base rates and the sewer rates were inflating annually at $2 and $10. So these are things that we have to put into this new rate schedule.
Right.
What do you all want to do?
Yeah. When I drafted this, I included the 2 and 10, just
Which is
because
what
that's
we
what
had
we were
before.
working off. For your,
On the base rates.
yes,
And then the usage
submitted
rates,
for your approval.
the usage rates we previously did.
3% on the hookups is a lot more money than, you know. So
Yeah.
it's-
That was also typical at that time. Is usually year after year it was 3% inflation, but now that could be different.
We'll get the rest of that information and figure out
Work session. I
what to bring to you so you can give us guidance.
Okay, thank you. All right, fiscal year 26 budget. Introduction.
talking numbers.
Talking numbers. All right. So, let me bring mine up here too. Again, really just gonna hit the highlights here. So, let's start up here, the general fund. So you'll see, at the bottom of the miscellaneous, revenues for general fund, it's highlighted in yellow, I believe.
Yep.
The capital reserve transfer is moved up here. And because of the way it works, that's technically a revenue that is not part of this year's, wasn't generated, won't be generated in fiscal year 26. It was generated in previous years. So that's why I'm showing that difference to balance is a previous revenue. So you'll see it in both the general fund and enterprise fund and water and sewer. So just to give you just a cap from last time, the transfer part was the 213,640 in the general fund, and where we were previously with revenues was 1,328,300. You add in that 213,640, that gets your total general fund revenues at 1,541,940, and that is also increased 390,130 from fiscal year 25. Under expenditures, just two things under municipal building, the IT support computers line, we increased that $3,500 to plan and budget for cybersecurity, and then the office equipment service agreements line, we reduced 10.5 to 7,000. It was increased in fiscal year 25 to upgrade the network video recorder for the cameras. We've looked at that line item, and we can actually replace those the NVR and the cameras in this fiscal year based on the Info Pathways quote. So that's why we reduced that significantly there. Under Public Works, just back to your question, Dave, how does it affect the capital vehicle and equipment line item there? It's remains at 60, like I said, whether you do a truck and 30 is for that, or whether you do a UTV, it's not going to affect that line there. So, and then moving down to expenditures in the water, you'll see the same thing there at the bottom, two new revenue line items, and the difference there, 286,931 in each water and sewer, and the water capital vehicles and equipment, that's where it's still at 15, but if we were to decide to flip things around, that would come out, and there would be a combined 30,000, 15,000 each savings in that year if we decide not to do the new truck. So again, right now your total capital fund projects for enterprise are 400,000, and that would drop to 370 if you're not purchasing a new truck. And as you see, everything balances out, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you for everything.
Any questions? No. But otherwise, we're looking to introduce it.
Do I hear a motion? Is there any discussion on the budget? I hear a motion to introduce the budget.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion and a second to introduce fiscal year 26 budget. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried. We'll have a hearing.
We'll get that advertised. I think it's on schedule to get advertised next week, and then our May 7th, is the hearing, and then the documents.
Now, do we need the ordinance passed tonight?
No, you can't pass it tonight because you haven't had your hearing.
Hearing.
We have it to introduce,
Right.
so we can just consider it introduced as, what number did you give it, Karen?
The tonight's
Tonight,
040225.
Yeah, 0402-25.
25, and then after the hearing, then we'll put all the dates in.
Then you put all the dates in. And
All right,
Okay.
does everybody understand the ordinance? For the budget, tax rate and
Having
everything?
the hearing at the May meeting, and
Yes.
then,
May 7th.
and then we would,
And then go to the
adopt
council.
it at the May
we could
meeting.
adopt it at that
Hearing
meeting.
first, and
Yes,
then-
Yeah.
okay, that's fine, that's what I wanted to
So
understand.
I hear a motion to introduce ordinance 04-02-25.
I'll do that.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to introduce ordinance 04-02-25. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So carried. Any other old business? Residents concerns?
You were second.
First, no, the other way.
Kevin second.
Not a one.
All right.
Turns to you, Miss Teresa. All right, not a one.
I think everybody was informed of Route 31, Main Street and High Street is gonna be paved, after, I think, Watson Lane is done. So if you see that outside of town when they're wrapping up, it's supposed to be coming to New Windsor then.
Yeah, I haven't gotten anything updated on that. I get a general update from State Highway that project's first and we're next.
It's actually out today, I think, so. Do we need any millings?
That's a Wayne question.
You'll talk to CJ Miller if you do.
Yeah, not at this time.
Okay, all right. Any announcements?
Yeah, I have two. So the 12th at 10 a.m. at the Community Meeting Center is the next Lions for Literacy. And the 19th at Springdale Prep will be the Easter egg hunt, sponsored by the Lions Club.
Very good. Keep me to it. Thank you.
I do have one thing. It sounds like, or it seems like, Antietam is up and ready to go, because I've gotten advertisements 2 years later. Antietam
I'm
broadband.
part of the Carroll County Regulatory Commission, so when we meet, we bring that up. They're still in the process. If you remember, a year ago, they said they were going to lay line. Their contractor is doing that now. Once that line is completely laid, then they will have the option to start hooking up the system. The original plans was New Windsor was going to be first, but I'm not sure if they're waiting for all of the county to be the lines to be laid, because they are currently in Sykesville as well. I think Finksburg as well. So.
Well, I know that they've laid the line throughout Blue Ridge, and they're sending out advertisements to sign folks up.
Yeah,
so.
they got the advertisement to sign up for the VIP, which puts you on a mailing list. But
okay.
I haven't heard from their president or vice president any timeline yet.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for all your input. Very good meeting. Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second. Oh, you can have it.
We have a motion and a second.